The Life of Mirio Togata, My Hero Academia. Mirio Togata, also known as Lemillion, is a student in Class 3B at UA High School and is part of the Big Three. Mirio was originally the top candidate to become All Might's successor and the inheritor of One for All before All Might met Izuku Midoriya. Welcome to the Amagi. In today's video, we're going over the life of Mirio Togata. Before we begin, we publish a new video every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. The Amagi's reach stretches beyond just this channel, so if you're a fan of us, please consider subscribing to our other channels and following us on all of our social media accounts. Help us reach our goal of passing 100,000 followers on all of our accounts by the end of the year. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Background. When he was a young child, Mirio accidentally fell into a river but was saved by a pro hero. This event marked his decision to also become a hero to save others. Although his father considered that, due to his permeation quirk, it would be a difficult goal to achieve. However, Mirio didn't lose heart and spent the rest of his years training to improve control of his quirk and fulfill his dream. During 3rd grade, he met Tamaki Amagi, a new transfer student who was unable to give a proper self-introduction because of his social awkwardness and as a result, wasn't able to make any friends. Mirio approached him after realizing that Tamaki was trying to say that he likes pro heroes. It was this recognition that began the friendship between Tamaki and Mirio. In middle school, during a quirk education class, Tamaki tried manifesting something with his manifest quirk, but only managed to manifest a tiny plant on his hand due to his nervousness. Meanwhile, Mirio tried phasing through a wall, but only managed to phase his hands through it. Some of Mirio's classmates laughed at his struggles, but he wasn't disheartened and resolved to properly pull off his phasing next time. While walking home, Tamaki praised Mirio's optimism while lamenting his own lack of self-esteem. Mirio cheered Tamaki up and said that he would shine brightly like the sun. And the reason Mirio could give it his all was due to Tamaki being there for him. Although he was nervous, Mirio praised Tamaki's resolve to never give up, which inspired him to never give up either. Despite Tamaki thinking of himself as a boring person with low self-esteem, Mirio always thought of Tamaki as a talented person who was cool and super fun and sunny to be around, whatever that means. After middle school, Mirio and Tamaki entered UA High School, going to classes B and A respectively and meeting Nejire Hado, becoming friends. Mirio struggled a lot at UA, even showcasing poor results in an edition of the UA Sports Festival. However, he would turn his situation around by devoting himself as an intern under the hero Sir Night-Eye, who will train him to learn how to use his quirk and help him cultivate his abilities. Under Sir Night-Eye's guidance, Mirio was able to turn his permeation into a powerful quirk, to eventually become a major contender for the #1 rank above several pro heroes. In his 3rd year, Mirio, along with Tamaki Amagi and Nejire Hado, began being acknowledged as the Big Three. Shie Hassaikai Arc. While Izuku Midoriya is taking out the trash, Mirio appears before him inside a wall and gives Izuku instructions on where to put the trash, and then recedes back into the wall. Mirio then appears in the ground, surprising Izuku yet again. Izuku asks him what he is, to which Mirio replies he'll know about him soon enough, and encourages him to keep his spirits up. As he leaves, Mirio tells Izuku about a rumor flying around and asks him to keep his wits about him. He falls into the ground before he can finish his sentence. 3 days later, alongside Tamaki Amagi and Nejire Hado, they're introduced by Class 1A by Shota Aizawa as the Big Three. After, his teammates introduce themselves to the students without making a good impression due to their extravagant personalities. Mirio steps in and tries to break the ice with a joke. No one in Class 1A understands his joke, and they start to wonder why such esteemed students have such strange personalities. Mirio insists that the best way for first-year students to learn about work studies is to fight him. Mirio decided to challenge Class 1A because having them witness their experiences personally would be better than a simple explanation. Shota tells Mirio to do as he pleases. Everyone moves to Gym Gamma where Class 1A, save for Shoto and Katsuki, attack all at once against the lone Mirio. Class 1A's close combat team tries to surround Mirio, but everyone is taken by surprise when Mirio's clothes suddenly fall off his body. Izuku tries to exploit the openings in his opponent's defense, but his kicks go clean through Mirio's physical form. The other students launch an ambush and Mirio swiftly appears behind everyone. The students believe he warped using his quirk and Mirio attacks the long-range fighters. In a few minutes, he defeats the long-range quirk users with a single strike. Shota reveals that Mirio is the closest hero to being #1 while even including the pro heroes. Now targeting close-ranged quirk users, he listens as Izuku Midoriya has his classmates form a strategy and he runs towards them, intrigued by their next move. He phases through the ground and appears behind Izuku, who anticipates this, and he he's surprised by the latter's deductions. Despite this, Mirio easily overcomes Izuku with one of his super moves. He then appears behind and defeats the students one after another. When the fight finishes, Mirio asks if they found his quirk strong and then reveals its functions. Explaining how his internship helped with his quirk, he says it's an opportunity they can't afford to miss out on. After leaving the gym, Tamaki asks him if anyone caught his eye, and Mirio mentions Izuku Midoriya's performance. Later on, standing alongside Izuku, they visit the restroom where All Might invites them to come in. Seated inside the restroom next to Izuku, All Might asks his own opinion on Izuku working under Sir Night-Eye. All Might mentions he would be unable to face Sir Night-Eye himself. Mirio asks Izuku what kind of hero he wants to be. When Izuku reveals his goal of wanting to be the greatest hero, he claims he has no reason to refuse to introduce Izuku to Sir Night-Eye. Later that day, he takes Izuku to the area of Sir Night-Eye's office and explains he has very strict standards. Proceeding to guide him to Sir Night-Eye's office, he offers him words of advice along the way. Freeing Bubble Girl from a shackled wall, she asks what Izuku is to him. Mirio mentions that he's an underclassman he's taken care of. He observes Izuku and notes that although he wasn't able to make Sir Night-Eye laugh, he can't argue with the result and that it got his foot through the door. When Sir Night-Eye challenges Izuku to a test and asks Mirio and Bubble Girl, she asks him if he had to undertake something similar. He reveals Sir Night-Eye personally chose him, and he didn't. As Bubble Girl reveals her jealousy, Mirio begins to think about Izuku's test against Sir Night-Eye. When they both re-enter Night-Eye's office, Mirio asks if it's over, as it got pretty loud. Sir Night-Eye tells Mirio that Izuku is hired, and that makes Mirio happy. The next day, he stands outside with Sir Night-Eye, Bubble Girl, and Izuku, and they inform Izuku of their secret investigation. Both Mirio and Izuku begin to patrol the area until they encounter a girl with Kai Chisaki behind her. Upon encountering Kai, Mirio throws Izuku his mask and says they should be the ones to say sorry. Kai mentions it's the first time he's seen them and asks if they're new, and Mirio tells him that they are. When Kai asks what office they're with, Mirio tells them they're students being allowed to patrol for experience, knowing he can't reveal that he's with Sir Night-Eye. As Mirio asks for them to leave, Izuku begins to start asking Kai about the girl. As they follow Kai into an alley for further questioning, the girl returns to his side and they bid farewell to the heroes. Izuku goes to follow them, but Mirio stops him, asking if he noticed the killer's aura around Kai. He says to respect Sir Night-Eye's orders. Meeting up with Sir Night-Eye, he apologizes for having an incident. Sir Night-Eye says it was an error on his part, and if he'd seen it, he could have prevented it. Afterwards, Mirio tells Sir Night-Eye about Kai's daughter. Izuku mentions wanting to save her. Sir Night-Eye tells them both the cleverest villains hide in the shadows, and now is a good time for them to learn. A few days later, Mirio attends the meeting regarding the Shie Hassaikai in Sir Night-Eye's offices. When Sir Night-Eye mentions Kai's quirk, along with bullets that can destroy quirks, Mirio becomes terrified. He and Izuku understand at that time what Kai was really doing to the girl. He deconstructed and recomposed her body constantly with his quirk to get her blood to create the bullets. Upon understanding that, both Mirio and Izuku are devastated, knowing that they could have saved Eri when they first met her. Izuku and Mirio vow to protect her. When the meeting ends, the UA students meet in the back, saddened by the state of the girl. Mirio and Izuku are sitting at the table surrounded by their fellow classmates with their heads sunk low after explaining their encounter with Overhaul and Eri. Shota appears and his words get everyone's spirit up. Tamaki asks Mirio to lift his head. Nejire asks him if he's feeling down or regretful. She asks if he knows he can do something about it, and Mirio says that he can. For several days, students wait patiently to receive any news of Eri's whereabouts. One day, late at night, the Big Three gather after receiving a message containing information. On the day, carry out the plan to raid Shie Hassaikai. Hours later, everyone gathers together and Mirio becomes fired up. Sometime later, after changing into his hero costume alongside everyone else, they gather outside the home of Shie Hassaikai. When everything is ready, the group raids the house. Inside the house, they reach the underground and believe to have found themselves at a dead end. Mirio prepares to go ahead and look and phases through the room. Seeing a corridor like Sir Night-Eye foresaw, Mirio returns and tells him a wall is blocking their way. After Izuku and Eijiro Kirishima knock down the wall, Mimicry uses his quirk to alter the underground labyrinth. Tamaki notes that if the path keeps changing, they'll never reach their goal. Mirio tells him that won't happen and that it's all a stopgap measure. He asserts that even if the passage is warped, as long as he knows the right direction, he can get there, and phases into the floor. Thanks to his quirk, Mirio manages to catch up with Chronostasis and Kai. Mirio tells them he's there to rescue Eri, but Kai is adamant that Eri doesn't want to be in Mirio's custody, and mocks Mirio for his futile heroics, to which Mirio replies that he came to rectify his mistake. Mirio charges towards Kai, but suddenly his sense of balance is affected, and he has a hard time standing. Without knowing it, in that place, there are also 2 members of the 8 Bullets, Deijiro Sakaki, whose sloshed quirk is making him unbalanced, and Shin Nemoto, who fires his gun at Mirio. However, the bullets phase through him. Using his confession quirk, Shin asks Mirio about his quirk, which forces Mirio to reveal his quirk's ability. Shin questions Mirio again about his motives for saving Eri, wondering if he only wants to save her to make himself feel better, which affects Mirio mentally. The combination of Shin and Deijiro's quirks makes Mirio stop in his tracks, dizzy and dejected. Seeing the opportunity to end him, Shin fires his bullets and Deijiro throws his knives at Mirio. Suddenly, Mirio uses Phantom Menace, a move in which he phases himself and quickly strikes down his opponents, knocking down both Shin and Deijiro. Mirio agrees with Shin that he let Eri go back into despair and already knew that he carried a sin for doing so, but now he's there to save Eri so she doesn't have to suffer again. Mirio quickly strikes Deijiro and Shin again and charges towards Overhaul. Mirio appears before Overhaul and attacks him. He strikes him with a backhanded smack, which Overhaul avoids, but Mirio still manages to leave a mark on his face while kicking Chronostasis. Mirio avoids hitting Eri thanks to his permeation and strikes Chronostasis down with his kick. Chronostasis falls back as Mirio grabs hold of Eri. Eri tells Mirio to run away, otherwise Overhaul will kill him. However, Mirio promises to never let Eri be sad again and tells her that everything is fine because he's her hero. Overhaul begins wiping off the mark Mirio left on his face as he threatens Eri to return to him because she was born to destroy people, otherwise Mirio will be murdered. Before Eri can speak, Mirio tells her to not listen to Overhaul's words. When Overhaul mocks Eri for her existence being a curse, much to Mirio's chagrin, who wonders why Overhaul is saying such harsh words to his own daughter. However, as he takes off his glove, Overhaul reveals that Eri isn't his daughter. He places his hand on the ground and deconstructs it using his quirk. Overhaul reconstructs the crumbled ground into massive spikes that attack Mirio, but Mirio quickly phases his body while holding up Eri with his arms, protecting both of them. Overhaul launches more spikes at Mirio, uncaring at Eri's safety since he can just repair her easily, and reveals to Mirio that Eri has experienced it firsthand. Overhaul's words enrage Mirio. He continues avoiding the spikes while Overhaul asks him about Eri's safety in his hands, since if she gets hurt, she can't be healed immediately and that having her is making it troublesome for him, as he can't run away using his permeation while carrying Eri. Due to him reconstructing the area with spikes, Overhaul has managed to cut off Mirio's escape route. Chronostasis has awakened and has a gun in his hand that's loaded with quirk-disabling bullets. Overhaul orders Chronostasis to aim at Mirio's arms while he destroys the spikes so that Mirio loses his ground. Overhaul deconstructs the ground, causing Mirio to stay in midair. Mirio conceals himself and Eri using his cape. Chronostasis fires at Mirio but misses due to his target being concealed by the cape. Mirio tries to appear before Chronostasis, but Overhaul anticipates this strategy and begins reconstructing the ground beneath his second-in-command. Mirio's shoulder knocks Chronostasis' arm, which causes him to drop the gun. Seeing that Mirio is stronger than he thought, Overhaul decides to break Mirio's morale by killing Eri. Before he can do so, Mirio uses his instant transportation to appear behind Overhaul. Overhaul realizes this and tries blocking Mirio with his hand, but Mirio phases his arm through Overhaul and punches him in the face. Overhaul lands on the ground as Mirio states that his cape is for bundling up Eri, who is in terrible pain. Chronostasis gets up and tries getting the gun, only for Mirio to appear before him and knock him back down. Mirio praises Overhaul for his abilities being far above that of the average Yakuza, but tells him that he's far stronger, using his instant teleportation to appear before Overhaul and lands another punch on him. Eri watches the fight and is surprised at not only Mirio's strength, but the lengths he's willing to go for her. Mirio swears to never let Overhaul lay another finger on Eri and promises to take them both down, declaring that he has them in a checkmate. Overhaul becomes enraged at Mirio calling out his name since he abandoned it long ago. Then he sees a wounded Shin Nemoto. Despite his defeat at the hands of Mirio, because of his undying devotion to Kai, Nemoto manages to drag himself to the place where the fight was taking place. Kai sees Shin as well as Mirio. Kai immediately throws a case of quirk-disabling bullets at him. Shin opens the case and loads one of the bullets in his gun, and Kai orders him to open fire. Shin knows how valuable the bullets are, so he can't waste a single shot. He knows he can't shoot Mirio because he would avoid the bullet with his quirk, but realizes that Mirio will do whatever it takes to protect Eri, so he aims his gun at her. Mirio immediately jumps towards the girl. Mirio reaches Eri while Shin fires the quirk-destroying bullet. Mirio reaches her and gets her attention so she can see him giving her a reassuring smile that says everything is going to be okay. Mirio thinks about the whole process he had to work to be a hero. Mirio covers Eri as the quirk-destroying bullet is shot into his body, which begins destroying Mirio's permeation. As Shin celebrates his triumph, Overhaul laughs at Mirio's efforts and mocks Mirio for smiling because everything he has worked so hard to cultivate has been reduced to naught. As Overhaul is about to deconstruct the ground, Mirio kicks an unconscious chronostasis thrown at him. Mirio appears before Overhaul and punches his arm. Mirio tells Overhaul that despite being quirkless, all his hard work isn't in vain because he will still be Lemillion. Mirio just keeps laying into Overhaul using nothing but the physical conditioning and foresight he trained to help him master his quirk in the first place. He ends up taking hits without the ability to phase through Overhaul's attacks, buying just enough time for Izuku to smash his way into the room. When Izuku, Shota, and Sir Night-Eye reach the area, Izuku immediately runs towards Kai and delivers a one-for-all full cowl punch to his arms. Shota follows Izuku while Night-Eye runs into Mirio and Eri. He's amazed that his pupil has not only managed to defeat 3 members of the Shie Hassaikai and gave his boss a hard time, but also managed to rescue Eri. Sir Night-Eye grabs hold of Mirio and Eri. A proud Sir Night-Eye praises and congratulates Mirio for everything that he's done. Having fused with Shin, Kai mocks Mirio for wasting his time trying to become a hero, as it's been all for naught now that he's lost his quirk, and could have avoided this tragic fate had he simply not gotten involved. Izuku and Sir Night-Eye are surprised that Mirio has lost his quirk. Kai continues bashing Mirio for continuing his heroics even after losing his quirk, as it's now dragged his peers into his mess. Sir Night-Eye orders Izuku to protect Mirio and Eri while he handles Kai. Izuku goes to Mirio and Eri's location with his enhanced speed. Izuku reaches them and sees that they're fine. He smashes open the wall, which reveals the path he, along with Shota and Sir Night-Eye, took to get here. Izuku decides that they should put distance between themselves and Kai. Izuku carries Mirio and Eri into the pathway. Eri apologizes while Mirio looks back to see Sir Night-Eye. While Sir Night-Eye and then Izuku fight a merged Kai, in the hallway, the damaged and tired Mirio Togata wills himself onward to take Eri to safety. However, Mirio's body begins to give out, and he cries because he's failing to do as he promised and is unable to escort her out of the Yakuza hideout. Mirio tells Eri that she needs to hide and wait for the others to come and find her. Finally, Mirio can't stand the wounds and fatigue for much longer, and falls unconscious for the rest of the battle, being subsequently picked up by Tamaki Amashiki. Finally, the heroes rise with victory. Shie Hassaikai is dismantled and his members sent to prison. Eri's rescued and the wounded sent to the hospital to recover. In the aftermath of the Yakuza operation, all heroes are cured and there's no fear for their lives except for one, Sir Night-Eye. The wounds he suffered in his fight against Kai are so severe that even Recovery Girl can't heal him. In his deathbed, All Might and Izuku can't help sobbing at his impending death. When Sir Night-Eye begins to succumb to his wounds, Mirio runs into his room and begs his mentor not to leave as he still had much to learn from him. As Mirio weeps, Night-Eye raises his arm and comforts him, using his quirk one final time to see Mirio's future, a future where he becomes an outstanding hero. Sir Night-Eye closes his eyes and smiles, telling everyone to keep smiling as society needs smiles and laughs to bring about a brighter future. Sir Night-Eye passes away peacefully as All Might, Izuku, and Mirio begin to cry. Much later, Izuku visits Mirio, who's doing exercises on his bed, surprisingly in a cheerful mood despite all that has happened. Mirio is glad that he's in top shape, and he knows that he's lost his quirk along with Sir Night-Eye and has no right to be cheerful. However, Mirio has decided not to be sad because Sir Night-Eye was smiling all the time while talking to him and will respect his teachings by also smiling since he's going to be an outstanding hero in the future, and having a glum face will make Eri sad. Izuku hypothetically asks Mirio if he would accept his quirk if he gave it to him. Surprisingly, Mirio replies that he would refuse Izuku's offer, telling Izuku that by accepting his quirk, Izuku would suffer hardship. Although he doesn't understand why Izuku feels dejected, Mirio thanks Izuku for doing a great job. Mirio feels positive about the situation because when he spoke with Shota Aizawa about when Eri gets control of her quirk in the future, she will be able to restore him to a state where he had his quirk. Mirio asks Izuku to smile, and Mirio's optimism convinces Izuku to accept the reality. Izuku tells Mirio that he'll be waiting for him to return to UA while he's taking a temporary leave of absence. Remedial Course Arc. With the beginning of October, Mirio goes to Sir Night-Eye's funeral, along with the internship group, All Might, and Eraserhead. Centipeter takes over Night-Eye's office, and he and Bubble Girl tell Mirio that he's welcome back anytime. UA School Festival Arc. Visiting Eri in the hospital alongside Izuku, Izuku apologizes to Eri for being unable to see her earlier. and Mirio gives her a fruit basket. Eri apologizes to them for all the trouble for her sake. When Eri starts feeling guilty for Mirio losing his quirk, Mirio tells Eri that she isn't to blame, and everyone's glad that she's safe. Suddenly, Izuku has an idea and asks Shota if Eri can come to the UA School Festival. When Eri asks what a festival is, Mirio explains to her that the UA School Festival is an occasion that UA High School hosts and has lots of events on display where people can enjoy themselves while tasting delicious food like candied apples, which catches Eri's attention. Days later, while students in Class 1A practice for their performance at the school festival, they're visited by Eri and Mirio. Mirio states that he's showing Eri around UA and invites Izuku to join them. Izuku, Mirio, and Eri walk through UA and see many students making the preparations for the school festival. Later, in Lunch Rush Cafeteria, Eri comments on everyone doing their best, and she wishes to see how their hard work will turn out in the school festival. Izuku and Mirio are happy that Eri is feeling excited and tell her the emotion she's experiencing. The day of the festival, hours before it starts, Mirio Togata, Shota Aizawa, and Eri are riding in a taxi to UA. During the ride, Mirio talks to Eri about the schedule of the performances and events, being the dance of Class 1A at 10 a.m. At the festival, Mirio takes Eri to the show which Class 1A has set up, and he holds her up so she could see it. When Eri sees Izuku in Class 1A's performance, she can't hide her joy and smiles brightly, representing that Overhaul's grip on Eri's psyche is broken at last. Seeing Eri beaming with excitement at the school festival makes Mirio cry tears of joy at finally seeing her smile and laughing for the first time, being able to let go of her tormented past. After the dance, Mirio, Shota, Deku, and the others accompany Eri to enjoy the rest of the festival's events until it ends, and she must return to the hospital. Pro Hero Arc. As November comes to a close, Shota, the Big Three, and Eri visit Class 1A rooms. Shota reveals to Izuku, Ochako, Tsuyu, and Eijiro that Eri will be looked after by UA since she doesn't have any relatives who can take care of her. Mirio explains that the source of Eri's quirk, her horn, is growing back slowly, which is another reason Eri was transferred to UA. Shota can prevent her quirk from going out of control. Mirio will also help in taking care of Eri and welcomes Class 1A to visit her once in a while since they'll all be very busy. Tamaki then pats him on the shoulder and mentions if Eri's abilities become stable and she gains control, Mirio's quirk could possibly return to him. Mirio laughs at that idea by stating it would be neat as he smiled at his friend. Joint Training Arc. The day after the joint training battle, Shota asks Mirio and Izuku to accompany Eri. It turns out he wants Nato to copy Eri's rewind quirk. However, Shota doesn't want to leave her alone with Nato, in case his eccentric personality could affect her mental health negatively. When Eri sees Nato, she gets scared and hides behind Mirio, calling Nato the UA's dark side. Nato loudly asks what she's saying, and Mirio recalls this is how he called him due to his nefarious behavior when they met during the days before the UA school festival. Nato is not amused. Mirio watches Nato attempt to copy Eri's quirk, but while he gains her physical horn, he's incapable of using the quirk itself because it's an accumulation type quirk. Nato apologizes for not being able to help more, but Shota thanks him for trying. Shota explains to Mirio and Izuku that since Eri doesn't understand how to properly use her power, he had hoped that Nato's copy quirk would help her and make it easier for her to learn it as well. Endeavor Agency Arc. When Shota takes Eri to enjoy Christmas with Class 1A, Eijiro asks him if Mirio would come too. Shota replies that Mirio is celebrating Christmas with his own classmates. Paranormal Liberation War Arc. The Big Three are taking care of Eri in her room when she suddenly starts crying, saying that her horns started to feel unusual. While Mirio and Tamaki hurry off to look for Shota, Nejire stays with Eri, hugging and comforting her. Shota arrives and erases Eri's quirk, gently patting her on the head and telling her not to worry. Several months later, a day before the raid against the Paranormal Liberation Front, Bubble Girl informed him of the operation and he wanted to take part in it as well. At the UA dorms, along with Shota, Izuku, and in general the people who usually take care of Eri, he asks Eri to restore his permeation quirk, knowing how she had been training on bugs and lizards using small amounts of her energy. Mirio apologizes for using her, but she responded that he doesn't need to, because that's the reason she's been training. At some point after this, Eri manages to restore Mirio's quirk, and then he heads to Jaku City to participate in the battle against Tomura and the Paranormal Liberation Front. Along the way, Mirio saves Burnin from being attacked by an eel-like near High End. Tomura orders Gigantomachia to destroy, and the hulking minion starts to break free of his bindings. Best Jeanist struggles to hold Gigantomachia in place, the near high-ends fast approaching him, when suddenly Mirio pops out of the ground and punches them away from Best Jeanist. Surprised, the injured Izuku asks him how he got there. He replies that they received a message about the current situation in Jaku City from the Villa team, so he rushed there at once using his Permeation's special mode of travel, as the villain hideout that was being occupied by Night Eye Agency wasn't far from there. The high-end quickly recovers from the blow and returns to attack Best Jeanist while he's holding Gigantomachia. Mirio realizes that he's unable to cope with all the Nomu to protect Best Jeanist and screams for help. Ingenium, Nejire-chan, and Katsuki Bakugo appear and engage them, saving the hero. At this moment, Katsuki yells at Best Jeanist that his hero name is Great Explosion Murder God Dynamite. Everyone considers the name ridiculous except Mirio, who thinks it's funny, which Katsuki denies, saying that there's nothing funny about it. Mirio replies with his motto, saying Sir Night Eye's words that a world without smiles and humor has no bright future. While continuing to fight, Mirio sees that Mr. Compress has managed to free himself from Best Jeanist's bonds and rescue his allies thanks to his quirk. Mirio and Best Jeanist's cables charge towards Mr. Compress to stop him, but he releases Spinner and Tomura. Then he tries to buy Spinner some time to wake Tomura up. Mirio easily defeats Mr. Compress and prepares to strike Spinner, but the villain manages to wake Tomura up, who immediately uses radio waves to blow Mirio, the cables, and all the other fighting heroes away. Tomura, actually All For One's consciousness in command of Tomura's body, had also used the radio waves to call all the near high-end Nomus, and soon a large group of these creatures arrived to take All For One and Tomura's allies from there. Mirio and the others try to stop them, but All For One manages to escape. Did you enjoy our video? Be sure to check out these other great videos from the Amagi, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Thank you for watching. I'm out.